YouTube, Mexi here with Fytstyxgaming, and today I want to bring to you something that I feel is special. I've discovered what I believe is the fastest game ever. So fast, I dare say it is ludicrous fast. So what is ludicrous fast? Let's break that down into 3 rules, alright? Rule number 1. Should be obvious, but it's got to involve actually moving fast. Now, there's lots of games where you'll move fast for periods of time. Like, something that comes to mind is maybe Star Wars. So when you warp, you're going to light speed. Now, that's cool. You're going really fast, don't get me wrong, but you're not really in control of what's going on. You're moving fast, but that's not the emphasis of the game. It's just a part of it. It's not really what we're concerned on. We want the focus of the game to be all about speed. Rule number 2. You need to be in full control of the action when everything's going down. Back to the Star Wars reference, if you're just cruising along at warp speed and you're not really interacting with the game's just kind of on autopilot, you're not really experiencing what should be ludicrous speed. Alright? It's really important for you to be in control there. Which brings me to rule number 3. It needs to feel like you're at risk should something go wrong. Now back to the Star Wars reference where you're going at light speed, right? If something goes wrong, if the ship broke, something goes down, like you're not at fault for that, right? You're just on autopilot. But let's say you're in warp speed and you're getting attacked and you're trying to defend something and who knows, all sorts of stuff is going on. Then we can talk, because then there's action, you're responsible for things. If something goes wrong, it's your bad. There's a lot that goes into that. We'll get to why that's important later. But for now, all I need to know is that risk is fun. So let's get on with this. What games meet this criteria? So when I asked people, hey, what kind of games are really fast? People said stuff like racing games. So like Forza or Midnight Club. People are talking about Sonic. Really honorable mention is Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer. And while these are all really good games, nothing quite takes the point home like this gem called Extreme G3. So this game, set in the far future, it puts you on super electric bikes that go to speeds past like 1,300 miles an hour, estimated. Emphasis on estimated because part of the feel of the game, rule number 2, is that when you're going that fast, the speedometer can no longer keep up. It's just bounce all over the place. The little digital gauge goes crazy. Like, the game can't even keep up with how fast you're going, to put emphasis on how fast you're going. Holy crap, right? Mind blown. The game succeeds in not just going fast, rule number 1, but in feeling fast, rule number 2. Like I said before, there's games that have light speed travels and warping and all sorts of autopilot stuff, but the action isn't on you. In Extreme G3, when you're racing around, you have a shield gauge that tells you how many more hits you can take, but it's also your boost gauge. So the faster you go, the less shield you have. You're putting more risk on the table in order to win the race, which is, again, adds to the intensity. But these tracks are so winding that it's not difficult to just be bouncing all over the walls because you can't keep up with how windy the track is, which doesn't help either because your shield gauge is dropping as you're trying to regain control of your bike that's getting shot at while bombs are going off and you're going over a loop-de-loop like it's nuts. So the bikes are extremely unwieldy at that speed, which is more rule number 2, because it brings us back to being not in control. You're going so fast that the game becomes super sensitive. Like, you can drive around in a parking lot, make a little corner, no big deal. But when you're on the highway, little movements of the steering wheel, you're gonna jumping all over in the lanes. But it's like that, but at another factor of 10, because now you're going 1,000 miles an hour, which means simple mismovements of the control stick and you're slamming into another player, hitting a wall, or flying off the track, or any number of things right there. So it's super important that you be super precise, which is all the more difficult because there's all those factors overbearing on you, which really helps to put the whole action thing in perspective. Another thing is that as you move fast enough to break the sound barrier at Mach 1, the game puts more emphasis on this. What happens is that as you go, you're going to see your vision blur. You're going to see the sound immediately drop out. All you can hear is a little computer talking to you in your head. All the while, all the sounds, all the visuals just kind of meld together, and you're left with this super, you can't even see, your bike is like shaking around, the track is all blurry, like you're going so fast that the game, like the total sensory integration is off the charts here. Like, you feel the intensity of the moment. It really brings it home, more so than any game I've ever played, which is more emphasis on why this game is the best. Another big point is that in this game, when you crash, it's not like most games where you respawn, keep going, boom, you're good. Now, in this game, when you crash, you're out of the tournament, you're out of the league, you have to start all the way back from the first race, which puts that much more intensity on the table because as you're racing, other players are gonna crash, you're gonna be crashing other bikes off, and at the very end of the very hardest difficulties, it's not uncommon for like half the bike likes not to have made it. And so you have this super impending sense of like incredible, like holy crap, I survived that. Half the guys didn't survive that, but I did that. Holy shit, and I got second. Wow, like it's so cool. You really feel like you've accomplished something because of how crazily intense this game gets. But at the bottom line, all of that is only valid because you're in control. If the game was on autopilot, it wouldn't mean anything. Like, you're the one that was in charge of all the little details and all the precise handling and when to shoot stuff and when to avoid things and how to do everything. And that's what makes it so much more relevant when you win, because it's all you. The game isn't doing anything. Like, everything is put against you, which is why it's that much better. This brings me to my next point. Now, this game has an extremely tight set of controls. In order to meet the demands that are given, the game has to be able to allow you to overcome them, right? That seems obvious, but when you first start out the game, it lists you on the slowest difficulty with the smallest engine. You're not going that fast. Handling is pretty simple. It's bouncing off walls doesn't really happen because you're going pretty slow. But as the game progresses, the speed increases, handling gets worse, because as you go faster, like we were talking about the parking lot versus the highway, like the steering gets that much more sensitive, and so things become that much more difficult. Now, it's not just press A and go fast. You got your air brakes, you got to lean, you have your nitros, plus your boost and the shield gauge that we were talking about, and other upgrades that can help you accelerate along the way too. So there's a bunch of dimensions to actually racing that go beyond just combat. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of games that come close to this game in terms of a couple of factors, maybe raw speed, maybe intensity, maybe the chaotic factor, but nothing quite brings it home in the same package as XG3 does, because when you take all of those, put them into one, plus add all the sensory integration, you have a game that's completely over the top insane. So what do you think, YouTube? Please leave your feedback in the comments, and if I am mistaken and there are more intense games out there, by all means, please post them up. I'd love to see what you guys have to say, and if I'm right, please give the game a shot. Let me know what you think. Is this game really that crazy, or am I just bullshitting you? Either way, like, comment, subscribe, and please, by all means, drop us a line. We'd love to hear what you have to say. This is Mexi signing off.